Welcome back yet again to another episode of RecTalk, filming live at the NEC from the Recruitment Agency Expo. First of all, a shout out to Target Recruit for some lovely cocktails that they brought over. If you're looking for a temp-heavy recruitment CRM and applicant tracking system, check them out. Definitely worth having a look at. My guest today, you got fans already, see this, see that. My guest today, you'll know him from Baxfield Consulting. You'll know him from being what I call the Nokia of the recruitment industry, connecting people. That's how old I am.
I like that.
Yeah, Kalpesh Baxi. Kalpesh, first of all, mate, thank you so much for giving me your time.
Thank you,
I know, especially on a day like this where everybody wants a bit, they all want to kind of a bit of your time and to grab you for 5-10 minutes at a time. Carving this time out, it's been really appreciated, mate.
Look, I'm happy to be here, really proud.
Excellent, thank you. Look, we're going to talk about two key things, I think. There's really not many people in this space that can give us the level of insight that you're going to have. First being kind of automation and AI, which I kind of band together. Have the use cases within sort of our industry been found yet, and what's actually happening in that space outside of the usual shit LinkedIn message that comes up with them generating it for you. And then we'll kind of move into a conversation around sort of business development tactics and almost how tech enablement is helping businesses sort of ramp up that business development side of things. So, look, first things first, mate. AI and automation. Is it going to replace recruiters?
In a word, no. And look, it's ironic we're having this conversation at the Rec Agency Expo, right? Because there are so many products out there talking about AI, automation, replacement, hybrid, blah, blah, blah. The short answer is all this technology coming out should enable recruiters to be more amazing recruiters. And look, there's a reality, right? You and I have been around a long time, not only in this industry, but other industries as well, where we're seeing disruption. Technology comes, technology goes. Right, and what we're now seeing in our industry, and recruitment, just for everyone's benefit, is not the only industry going through this disrupt cycle, right? AI is basically taking away some of the elements of the job, because let's face it, right? Recruiters have been doing some parts of the job where we just didn't need a human involved, and it should allow recruiters to do other parts of the job more efficiently.
Yeah, no, good, yeah. I echo that. My take on it is that recruitment will always need people. What I think automation and AI will do is make the people better and stop that kind of influx that we have had at times during peak in our industry, where anybody and everybody can get in the industry. Yeah. Bums on seats and that approach, right?
Yeah, I think one of the things I have to say is a starting point, right? And you and I have joked about this a couple of times, but there's a real unhealthy correlation where people confuse AI and automation.
Yes.
It's two different things. Yep. And I think, I know you're really good at building lexicons and stuff like that. The first thing I would say to anyone in recruitment is you need to be really clear about, are you talking about automation or are you talking about AI?
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about business cases then, use cases within a business, right? Because at the end of the day, the business owners are really only kind of susceptible to the knowledge that's out there, and so if those businesses, these vendors and stuff that are selling these products and services are calling something AI when actually it's automation, like, do you know what I mean? It's sort of it's tough to sort of distinguish. But tell us about some of the cool tech that you know about that's out there that is enabling recruiters to sort of be better.
So you know what and again, we've seen some of those here today. Some of them you've had on your podcast in the past. If I take it fundamentally, what recruiters need to do is you either find jobs or you find candidates. That's the basic job of a recruiter, right?
Yeah.
If you have jobs, go find candidates. If you have candidates, go find jobs. And what we're seeing with some of these tools that are coming out around whether it's the scribing technology, whether it's matching technology, whether it's some of the telephony that's coming out, whether it's the outreach tools that are coming through, how you use social signals, there's a whole bunch of stuff we can keep carrying on with, right? But what we're now starting to see is recruiters are able to actually use this technology to either find better candidates, to service their clients more efficiently, and or be able to actually deliver good candidates in a short space of time, but also challenge the client in making better hiring decisions.
Okay.
So if you think about, one of the, and we're next to the startup zone here, literally next door to us is chat automation, right?
Yeah,
which is all about how to use automation to do screening and base level matching and check who's available for jobs. So if you're in a high value industry or high volume industry, right, you don't need a human making 120 calls a day going, are you available for work today? You can use technology now to do some of that for you.
mass outreach, right?
Yeah.
And also kind of, I think for me, the most obvious use case that came about when automation and AI kind of hit our industry was the biggest thing that people moan about in our sector from a candidate perspective is the lack of feedback, right?
Yep.
How long processes take and the lack of feedback. And the reality is we all know the truth that when candidates are saying, I haven't heard back about these jobs, it's because they're not in the shortlist. They're not being considered for the role. And, it's a click of a button to get rid of, to reject somebody. But we feel it's impersonal maybe to, I'm going to reject this candidate with an auto-reject button that just says, sorry, not on this occasion, right? And
but even if you take it back a level, right, and you're talking about rejection, you're talking about the end of the cycle.
Yes.
Let's go to the start of the cycle. Recruiters don't even, and it's such a simple process now with automation, right? And even we put a bit of AI in there as well. They don't even tell people, thank you very much, we've received your application. So we're talking about the end game, the start of the game, right? Thanks for your application, thanks for your response. So I think it's a
simple trigger button, isn't it? Whereas I think the AI and automation thing is to kind of look at, for it to be able to go, right, okay, so I've watched this recruiter, green flag, call it, sort of green flag 6 or 7 of these candidates. So now as an AI, I can look at these CVs and go, I can see a trend here, I see what this person's looking for, and therefore the rejection emails I can personalise to a degree and say, look, we have people with better experiences in X, Y, and Z category. For this reason, you're not being considered for your next role, right? Or for this position. That's the bit where I'm like, oh, okay, that's a lot better than just an auto reject or an auto. Thanks for replying.
But
we'll
even at a starting point, if you can just take it, even an auto, you'll take that.
Kind of,
and I think this is your point about automation versus AI, right? So in AI, we've got some incredible tools out there now where you can start seeing some tools around how do you generate AI, conversational AI, etc. But to personalise that experience, you're absolutely right. These are the reasons why you've been rejected. Or there's a really cool product here today that I was looking this morning, which basically does speech to script. So effectively, it takes, you talk in, it will create a job spec, it will create an advert, it will create a whole bunch of stuff, right? But we can do that. And what's the reason why? Why is it I can't go, I want to send Nitin a message, let me just look at all the different communications I've had with Nitin, because AI can do that. No automation AI, right? I know how I communicate with you, so in the right tone and the right voice.
Tone.
And in a way that I know that you will accept and you'll like.
This is where, there's certain businesses that are really getting it right, and I'd like your thoughts on this. So, do you know of Atlas?
Yeah.
So I had Jordan on the podcast.
Yeah.
We went through it all. I love what they're doing, right? It's exactly that. I'm going to listen to everything that you've ever said to this candidate, not just you, but all your consultants. I'm going to take everything into consideration. I'm going to personalise every form of communication and the journey that we take this candidate on. So making that candidate more sticky. If you're a big established CRM who's built on a tech stack that isn't built on AI, that's incredibly difficult to rework your entire platform, right? So should you be worried? Should you, what would you, if you were sitting around a board with, I'm not going to name them, but we know the biggest players.
You mean all the people we can see from where we're sitting, right?
Yeah. So them, right? What are you must be worried, surely.
They are, but they're not. Right, and I'll explain why, right? Because you got two extremes, and you talk about Jordan Atlas, and I love his product. There's half a dozen type of products coming through like that now. Then you got the big guys, right? And the ones that are the veterans of the industry, deep pockets, hundreds of millions of dollars of sales. Okay, when you're a smaller person, you're agile, nimble, you can retool, and you can get there quicker. When you're a bigger company, you're right, you're almost eating yourself with the new strategy coming through. So you've got to make a decision of, do I completely disrupt my business model? Do I do something completely different? And do we come through? Nitin, I remember a conversation you and I had over a year ago. You were in banking once upon a blue moon ago, right?
I was indeed, yeah.
Okay, so if you think about banks at the moment, hello. If you think about banks, sorry, another fan for Nitin and Co. So if you think about the banks that you were working for before, right? And they'll remain nameless, and let's see if someone goes and does a research on you, right? But that bank has to have a conversation with itself of, do I become a neo bank or a challenger bank, or stay true to my form? Now the reality is, you have to find somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. And I suppose it's the same thing with it wouldn't take much for them to kind of offshoot because there's always going to be people that will reject this technology. And I think, look, the truth is, AI is starting to plateau, in terms of what it can do. Obviously the main one is OpenAI. They seem to have moved now away from that not-for-profit model to a for-profit model. However, the cost of AI is dropping dramatically. It's actually, I read a quote the other day, and it's the most depreciating asset in the last 25 years or something like that.
So really interestingly, it's the most depreciating asset in terms of cost, but it's the most appreciating asset in terms of experience.
Yes, yeah. No, that's right, yeah. So I thought that was quite fascinating, because it's sort of like, there are certain people right now that don't need AI, don't want to use AI, I want to do it more myself. But I think that the conversation around AI is going to stop in exactly the same way. We don't talk about .com businesses anymore.
No.
We don't talk about, that's an internet company. It's just, that's a company. Every company has a website now, right? In the same way, I think AI is just going to become one of those things that every business and every software has to have some layer of it.
You'll have an integration of it. So I think your point about being, and if we just come outside of our industry again, right? And I like to draw parallels, because I think, we sometimes get cocooned in this recruitment bubble of this is how we do it here. If you think about the motor trade, right, and you think about the VW group, the VW group is like the biggest companies in recruitment that do CRM, right? Then you think about Tesla, and Tesla's like the upstarts and the funds coming through. Because Tesla from day one had built a platform on the new world, they got rapid market share, rapid growth. They just needed a lot of cash to do it. If you think about VW Group, they're building products to do some of these EV batteries, new worlds are doing stuff, etc. But they're also going to succeed. It's just going to take a different way of coming through. Now, the long answer is Tesla will succeed, VW Group will succeed. They're just both going to get there differently. Different and different things will appeal to different people.
Yeah,
some people, and if you're a big corporate, you need to have one of those big CRMs, because you can't take the risk with a small startup. If you're a smaller company, and you got to remember in recruitment, 70% of our industry is small, 1 to 10, 1 to 20, 1 to 50 type companies, depending on which stat you use, right? Type recruitment companies. You can afford to take the risk of taking a punt on new technology coming out and saying, let me see how this goes and let me see how it works.
I agree.
So you've got different parallels, but what I always try and say is, remember, in our industry, recruitment's not unique. It's actually quite an easy industry compared to some of these other things.
As you say, it's all about all this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, no, I'm with you. Okay, so let's flip it on its head, talk about business development then, right? If I'm a recruitment business owner right now, it's great from a candidate stickiness point of view. I see how that will help my candidate journey and keeping them in loyal to my business. How do I leverage, or what ways are people right now leveraging automation and AI to improve their business development strategy?
So, and again, Nitin, you and I, you've looked at some of these products with me as well, right? We have to remember that we're in an experience economy at the moment, okay? Everyone's looking for a better experience, customer experience, client experience, candidate experience, colleague experience, right? Guest experience. So I think if I was a recruiter today, I would be thinking hard about how does experience fit in to what I do for my clients and my candidates. And I can tell you there are recruiters out there now as part of their scorecard. So, you and I have sat in monthly meetings beforehand where bring out the P&L, how many jobs have you registered, how many candidates? Okay, I know there are recruiters now that say, right, as part of our monthly board pack, we're going to measure experience. We're going to go through all the feedback we've had, good and bad, about where can we improve, where did we get it right. And, I know recruitment leaders that are now picking up the telephone and engaging with candidates, say, thank you very much for that feedback. I now need to ask you a few more questions so I know we can get it right more often. So I think technology now allows you to do that. Whereas if you go back 10, 15 years ago, it was you'd send a letter out, someone might respond back to you, or if you're a Sky customer, you're probably all used to the fact that you get the 3 questions that come through on an SMS. There's cleverer ways of doing stuff now. So I think if I was a recruitment leader right now, or a recruiter even, say think about how I can create a better experience, because the reality is people can choose to leave whenever they want, right? Candidates or clients, etc. Contracts will only get you so far. What technology and what behaviours can you implement to allow you to make more business, but also defend your business?
I like that, really like that. And have you got any examples of people that you've worked with or are working with that you can kind of share some insights on? This is what they were doing, this is what they are doing now.
Yeah, so look, I'll give you an example of, there's a particular company I'm working with, there's 30 people in that organisation. They've been going 12 years, very successful in terms of how they got that far. 3 years ago when COVID hit, they were that classic recruitment business of a telephone on the desk and a PC.
Yeah.
Okay, COVID hit overnight. They had to become digital natives. So what they did as part of that transformation, they started understanding how do people need to work, what technology can we bring in. So how do you bring in better telephony technology? How do you bring in, and then CRM is still the same CRM. They haven't changed the CRM, interesting enough, right? So they're still dealing with one of the big guys as their CRM. But what they've now got is a bunch of technology sitting on top, and they've bought some things off the shelf, and some things have just created automation. You know, they use things like Google, and there's things you can do on Google, etc., where you can do clever stuff on there. I want to talk to you about, I work with a 500-person company at the moment, a recruitment company, global, you know, they're very successful at what they've done, but they got complacent, right? And they got complacent because it was going well, and all of a sudden it was like all of these little speedboats, these little recruiters were eating away at their market share. So they had to go away and go, right, they didn't start with technology, they started with what do we want to become? So they looked at their vision, they looked at the strategy, then they looked at their operating model, and then they went and looked at their tech stack. And one of the conversations I had with them was like, it's a little bit like when you got a kid, right, you go, right, before we get any new toys, go and get your toy box out. Let's empty the toy box out. And then one by one, we're going to put all the toys back. What do you play with? What do you use? Anything you don't play with or anything you don't use or you've outgrown, let's find a way of getting rid of it. And that's the advice I'd give to companies now. You've got to start with what do you want to be, who do you want to service, and what's your operational blueprint.
Yeah.
And there's some amazing, even walking around here today, amazing operations leaders that can help you do that. And then think about your tech stack. Because if all you do is build your business on a tech stack, when a tech stack dies or evolves, your business dies, evolves as well.
Yeah. Oh, that. Interesting. And so, how often would you recommend that people review their tech stack and their operational kind of processes and stuff? It's easy to lose sight of these things, right?
So I think there's a whole concept of continuous improvement.
Yeah.
Right? So in a perfect world, it's someone's job to always keep an eye on your tech stack, your processes, etc. Right? But in reality, it's got to be a 12-month cycle. As a minimum, you might do it more regularly, depending on what you do. But every time you do something new, think about what you can get rid of.
Yeah.
And I think the problem with most recruitment owners is we're very good at adding new stuff in all the time. We're not very good at taking stuff out. So there's another company I'm dealing with at the moment. Actually, it's a tech company, right? And you'd have thought a tech company would be more further advanced, but they've had this same challenge, right? They've added new processes, they've added new structures, they've added new technology because everyone needs AI, right?
That's it.
But what they haven't done is unplug things that are redundant.
Yeah.
So when we looked at it, and I'm not an automated process guy, right? But we just did some real process mapping. I'm like, you could take 5 steps out of this.
Yeah, it seems to be overbaked.
Yeah. And what they realised was actually 5 of those steps, 2 of them were actually causing friction with customers.
Interesting. Yeah. It's amazing how often we don't look at customer journey, and again, in recruitment, that's key as well. Right? We just have this acceptance that candidates will apply in a certain way, and that's fine, and we send them a registration form because they have to fill that out because we require it, and it's sort of like there's ways and means to integrate these things.
And the world's changing, right? So there's a really, really cool company out there.
You can shout anyone out.
I'm trying to remember the company. I don't want to give you the wrong company name. Cool. I'll come back to you in a minute, right? But what they're doing is, the founder's a guy called Theo, I remember the founder's name, but what they're doing is they're using things like TikTok in hospitality to do recruitment. And there's another company that does using TikTok, and they're called Blend, We Are Blend, that basically uses TikTok videos to train people in hospitality. Because if you think about, you're a restaurant, right, and the demographic of the people you hire, getting people to sit in a classroom and do classroom training just doesn't work.
E-learning, it's the new
So what they're doing is TikTok learning. So on your phone, real time, if you want to learn to be a barista, there's a bunch of videos that you're going through, right? So I think the whole point about how you learn, and then the final part for me is we talk about recruitment is all about hiring, and that's our fundamental industry, right? Whereas part of an industry that's worth $457 billion globally, give or take, and recruitment is just one element. The other element of it is retention.
Right?
I'm with you. So if recruiters can start thinking about as a value-add service, how do I help my clients with their retention? Yeah, short term they might make a few less fees, but they're going to make more fees because all of a sudden the employee proposition becomes better to sell to candidates.
It's a short-sighted way to look at it, isn't it? Yeah, it's funny. I was having a conversation earlier with somebody I used to work under actually years ago at Michael Page, and he set up on his own, and talking. He's like, yeah, I've had a difficult year, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? I'm going, it sounds to me like you're recruiting the same way you were when we worked together, right? You know, going after the low-hanging fruit, you know, this attitude of FHR, go straight to line managers, you know, all this kind of concept that used to work back then, but you're not in today's market. Today we're in a value exchange market, right? I need to do things for you and win favours with you for you to even bother considering doing that for me. And I was like, look, this is what I would do based on the guys that I've spoken to, and you know, I did RecTalk at RecFest, and we had TA leaders, and they were all saying, we love agency, we don't mind working with them, we just want people that are going to add value to us and not like go behind our backs, right? And I'm going, that's what these guys are saying, so why don't you try that, right? And he's going, yeah, but like, I've still got to hit revenue for the next few months, and like the burn rate is what the burn rate is. But then it's kind of like, okay, but by not doing that, how much more money are you leaving on the table? You know? So
it's a little bit short going. I'm doing a podcast in a couple of weeks for an American outfit, and we're talking about inverting the hiring pyramid.
Yeah.
Right? And the whole rationale of this is, at the moment, recruiters they're transactional agents, right?
Yes.
Because they're paid to place a person. And as long as you pay recruiters to find a person, fill a job, they're going to behave the same way.
That's all
right? And then just to be really clear, I'm pro-recruiter. I don't think the industry's going anyway.
No.
And I think recruiters actually serve a really significant purpose in society. But the inverting the hiring pyramid is, if you're a corporate, you need to find different ways of attracting talent and retaining talent and building talent pools. So you've got to change the model of actually coming through. What your friend and your former colleague just said is exactly spot on the money, that if the client pays me a certain way, I have to behave a certain way. I don't have the luxury of changing the way I approach it. And I can completely get that. So I think for recruiters, it's a hard place. And for any corporate members out there, you know, love your recruiter, because they are worth so much money. And when you are in trouble and you need those people to start, you know, it's a hospital and you need someone for a shift that night, or you're in hospitality and you can't get your covers out, or you're in tech and you can't build your AI product. Yeah. Remember, those recruiters are invaluable.
No, I completely understand, completely agree with that. I think it's an important thing to consider at the minute for recruitment business owners is talent acquisition finally have a seat at the table. They're not the annoying little brother anymore of the HR team. They have a seat at the table, and a very firm one at that. And so you've got to work with these guys, but it's equally at the same time, they're looking for value, right? Yeah. So as recruitment business owners and recruiters and business, you know, in that side of the world that we're in, we speak to so many different people, so of their competitors, former staff, future prospective people that work for them. You know, we have the finger on the pulse to be able to do a whole range of market research on the behalf of these.
And we throw away in our industry so much information, so much data, because it's not valuable to make that placement. And the secondary insight you can get off, etc. So one of the things I'm involved in is Team Network, which is independent network of recruiters. Right, and there's over 500 members. And the reason why I got involved with those guys, Nitin, was, and I've got to be honest, I mean, I came from a big corporate, S3. Yeah. I then went mid-market. I worked with a bunch of companies in the mid-market, Hamilton's, etc. And I went cyber. What I'm learning with these companies is they are so innovative and so smart in how they approach it, because they don't have the corporate shackles of having to work a certain way. They will spin on the sixpence to find the right solution and the right approach to work with candidates, to work with clients. And that's the bit I would say to recruiters, you know, give yourself the freedom to think differently, to try something new.
You're right, you're absolutely right. I had a call earlier with he's an old friend of mine, good friend of mine, solo recruiter, and he was like, yeah, things are going all right, you know, I had to leave the expo early, I've got a lot on at the minute, I've got 3 fees, you know, one's worth 10 grand, one's 13 grand, and one's 20 grand. And I was like, oh, that's great, that's really good work. And he was like, yeah, you know, it's just tough because I know 2 of them aren't going to come off. I'll only land 1 of them. I know that. And I was like, have you had the conversation and said, look, for me to dedicate the time on these, I need 1/3 of this fee up front. And if I don't fill it, I'll give you the money back, right? But get some of the money. And he was like, oh, I can't work like that. It doesn't work that way in this market. And I was thinking, you've already accepted that 2 of these fees you're not going to land, so why would you not have that conversation?
And you
that
step
fear
away.
factor of that conversation is like, I think, holding a lot of us back.
So, and again, talking about some of the stuff we've been talking about in our communities, right? Is products and services. So, you know, the old school element of recruitment was I do perm or I do contract.
Yep.
Right? The new version is on contract, you can do statement of work, you can do project fees, there's a whole bunch of stuff coming through. You can charge for additional services. So, when I was working in my big corporate world, we did oil and gas recruitment. Part of our oil and gas service was we made margins on the services we offered on top. So if we were putting people in Africa, down the Congo River doing exploration, or every service that we were offering, there was a margin on top. So think about products and services. And one of the things that we've got to start thinking about, right, is how to make revenue sticky. How do you make more money that comes in reoccurring? So, we're at the Expo, there's a lot of SaaS companies here. One of the reasons why SaaS companies like 12, 24-month contracts is because they know that you're going to get money every month, reoccurring, regularly coming through, and actually coming through. Recruiters can do the same way, right? That's why contract works really well. That's why retained works really well. That's why RPO works really well. So I agree with you. Challenge the status quo. It's not going to work every time, right? There's also a real simple conversation at some point we have to have with ourselves of how do I politely sack this client?
That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah. You're absolutely right. That objection is always there, right? It's not going to work every time. Yeah. Nor does contingent recruitment.
No. And
there's your fill rate is 100%. Yeah. Don't come at me with that as an argument.
Yeah. But there's a place for contingent recruitment. I've worked with some incredible recruiters, super phenomenal companies, but they can't work.
In the contingent world, we're not going to land everything.
Yeah.
So then why would that be exactly the reason why you don't pitch retained?
Because
not everyone will say no. Not everyone will say yes.
Not everyone will say no, not everyone will say yes. But also there's a degree of it, right, where some recruiters are just brilliant at working contingent. Yeah. They can't work retained.
They're just genuine.
So I work with an individual, probably like your friend, right, where he's got 10, 12 jobs on the go. I'm like, you could get at least half of these because you work with the client exclusively, right? Yeah. But I don't want to ask for any money up front. Why is that? Because I need that pressure to deliver. It's like so. I think there's an element of just making sure you got to do what's right for you.
That's a self-awareness piece, isn't it? That's a self-awareness piece of I know I can't do this, and therefore. Yeah. I like that. Right, last bit of advice for business owners to finish 2024 on a high.
You know what? So I did a podcast last week with three very interesting, three people that you and I both know: Sean Anderson, Jeremy Snell, and Cyborg. Three very different people,
all three
right?
of those guys. Yeah.
So we had ops, we had marketing, and we had the training element there. Hello, training. So the big thing I would say to everyone is to finish 2024 strong.
Yeah.
You haven't got to the end of December, you got to the end of November, right? Number one, whether it's 60 days, 52 days, whatever number you're going to use, working as you got to sit there and think about today, what will I go and do that will make an impact? And you've got to think about, by the end of November, I've got a window of doing those activities to make an impact that will then carry me through into December as well. And then really, halfway through November, you got to go, 2025 is coming. How do I start 2025 strong? So my advice to recruiters is really simple. Don't procrastinate. Don't sit on the fence thinking someone else is going to do it for you. I've just had this conversation with Charles Kiriakou. If there's one thing I tell recruiters to do something consistently every day. Yeah. Because that is the only way, one, you'll get better at it. Two, you'll know if it works. And three, it will make a difference.
I love that. Well, that's a great place to finish, mate. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate this. This has been fun.
Take care.
Kill that then. Thank you. Right, we'll see you at the next one. Thank you very much. That was good, man. Appreciate that.
It's all right. You got enough.